Well, good evening, East Alabama and West Georgia. Dr. Don with you on your, what day of the week is this? Sunday. It is Sunday, September 13, 2020 on Dr. Don's weather page. And, yeah, folks, so I kind of took the weekend off, spent time hanging out with grandbabies, but back in the studio, and, yeah, we've got a lot to talk about. So what I wanted to do is kind of bring you up to date on the latest with what will be Hurricane Sally, we think, in the next 24 hours or so, probably less than that. Probably by 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, we'll be looking at a hurricane in the Gulf of Mexico. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about that and primarily tell you what I think the effects are going to be for East Alabama. But before we get into the weeds and I start telling you what we think is going to happen, let me start by telling you that if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, go ahead and put them in the comment box. I am watching that, and I'll be able to answer your questions as soon as we finish kind of going through what Tropical Storm Sally, soon to be Hurricane Sally, means for East Alabama and West Georgia. And let me say this, we're still very early in this ball game, so the forecast will be fine-tuned as we go. And quite honestly, it most likely will be sometime on Monday night or Tuesday before we really get a good handle on what the storm is going to mean for East Alabama and West Georgia. Yes, looking at the graphic that you see right there in front of you, if this exact track verifies, which means if this is exactly what we end up seeing, then what's left of Hurricane Sally will pass right over north central Alabama, northeast Alabama, and eventually right across north Georgia. But still, you'll see the graphic there in front of you. We're talking about a very slow-moving storm until Wednesday, and then it will get kicked off to the east and northeast fairly rapidly because we go from 1 p.m. Wednesday, we have a big jump in that 24-hour period to 1 o'clock on Thursday. And then from 1 o'clock on Thursday until 1 o'clock on Friday, we're trucking along pretty good. We're going from near Tuscaloosa, Alabama to, maybe Clemson, South Carolina in a 24-hour period there. So, boy, that's ironic, Tuscaloosa to Clemson. Just realized that. But anyway, you can see that the storm will be moving rather quickly by the time it starts to affect East Alabama, West Georgia, and Northeast Georgia, which is where I am. And exactly how much of the storm is left at that point is going to have everything in the world to do with what the effects are going to be across East Alabama, West Georgia, and North Georgia. I can tell you it won't be hurricane, by no means. It should be a tropical depression by that time. And so we could be looking at some rain from time to time. We could be looking at some gusty wind from time to time. It won't be anything drastic. We're not looking at a lot of damage. I think the biggest effect most likely will be periods of heavy rain across the area as we go into Thursday afternoon, Thursday evening, and into Friday morning. As far as severe weather is concerned, I think all of it stays south of East Alabama as Sally passes to your south. And then we see landfall down there south of New Orleans as perhaps a Category 2 hurricane, and then downgrading to a tropical storm rather quickly, and then going to a depression by 1 o'clock Wednesday afternoon, and then turning back off to the northeast, coming across north central Alabama, northeast Alabama, and eventually across northeast Georgia. But again, we're going to have to fine-tune the forecast as we go throughout the next 3 to 4 to 5 days to see exactly, number one, how strong does Sally get. If the forecast is correct, we may be looking at a weak Category 2 hurricane at landfall and then rapidly deteriorating to a storm and then to a depression. The depression part is what may affect East Alabama and West Georgia Thursday afternoon into Thursday night and into Friday morning. Now, there's still a lot of uncertainties here. Of course, we could see the storm speed up. We could see it slow down even more. It may not get kicked off to the northeast as quickly and as rapidly as anticipated. Storm could certainly be stronger when it makes landfall. It could still be stronger when it comes back over East Alabama. But odds are the Hurricane Center's got it pegged pretty good right here. So that's the forecast, the official forecast that you're looking at, and that's what we're going to go with for now. But as we go throughout the next several days, the forecast may be changed. Now, for those of you that don't ordinarily track hurricanes, let me kind of explain what you're looking at. You're looking at the cone of uncertainty. The hatched area, which covers most of Alabama, most of Georgia, South Carolina, and a good chunk of western North Carolina, then back up there across Tennessee. That's the area where the eye of the storm or the center of circulation of the storm could track over the next several days. So it's possible that Sally makes landfall as far east as the Mississippi-Alabama state line, or as far west as central Louisiana. So the storm could track to the west and end up over in portions of Louisiana and then go way up into northwest Mississippi and then up into western Tennessee and up into Kentucky. Or it could take the right road to the right and end up right in the Mobile Bay area and then turn right across South Alabama and South Georgia and could actually end up back out in the Atlantic. The National Hurricane Center is going with the middle of the road, which is right down the middle of that cone that you're looking at. That's putting it landfall somewhere south of New Orleans, tropical storm by the time it gets to New Orleans, and then that turn back to the north and northeast, pretty much as a depression by Wednesday, working across central Mississippi, and then into West Alabama by Thursday at 1 p.m., somewhere around Tuscaloosa, maybe a tad bit north of Tuscaloosa, and then across northeast Alabama Thursday night, northwest Georgia early Friday morning, and then to a point right there along the Georgia-South Carolina border, very close to Clemson, South Carolina by 1 o'clock on Friday afternoon. Question being, could we see severe weather? Could we see tornadoes with all of this? You know, that's possible, but the severe threat from this storm doesn't look that great at the moment. But again, like I said at the top of this, we'll be fine-tuning this forecast as we go. If I had to lay down a forecast of the effects of this storm across East Alabama and West Georgia, I would tell you 2 to 4 inches of rain between now and noon Friday. I think by football Friday night, and I know that question's coming, across East Alabama and West Georgia, think you're going to be okay because the center of whatever's left of Sally will be over northern South Carolina or upstate South Carolina by Friday evening and pulling the moisture on off with it. So I think East Alabama, West Georgia is okay by Friday night. So I think the biggest effect is going to be rainfall, and that's going to be in the order of 2 to 4 inches across East Alabama and West Georgia. Now, let's go over to our Southern Union State Community College live Doppler radar. Now, let's just kind of walk around here a little bit and show you what's going on. Now, understand that we do not have radar sites sitting out here in the middle of the Gulf of Mexico, so there is a lot of convection out there that you can't see because we don't have a radar out there. As a matter of fact, right here where you see this circle, that's the edge of the radar beam from Tampa. That's why you can't see beyond that. Yes, there are lots of thunderstorms out here beyond what you can see right here on radar. As we go on down toward Key West, same setup down there. You can't see much further than the southern tip of Key West because there's just simply not any radar sites out here. But you can see that there is a lot of convection out there. Sally is sitting somewhere in this general area. We'll continue to pull on off to the northwest over the next several days. We do have some big thunderstorms across northwest Florida getting up into South Alabama. We'll take you down here just to the southeast of Andalusia, just to the southwest of Enterprise, Geneva, Florella, Crestview, to the west of Bonifay, to the north of Mariana, right there along I-10, just south of Dothan. Some pretty big thunderstorms down there. And then as you go on off to the west, some rain near Fort Walton Beach, near Milton, Florida. And then over here in Mobile, we've got some pretty good rain taking place on the western side of Mobile Bay from I-10 all the way back up to just south of Centronel. Big thunderstorms there with some heavy rainfall. A few scattered showers and thunderstorms down here along the Mississippi Gulf Coast, south of I-10, just to the southeast of Biloxi. And then as we look down here around Louisiana, we start to see some heavier storms coming on shore down here in the marshland of southern Louisiana, well south of New Orleans. All is well in New Orleans right now. But that is going to change over the course of the next several days. And again, we may be looking at a Category 2 hurricane making landfall south of New Orleans by about 1 a.m. Tuesday morning. And we think right now, based on the latest information, that landfall would be somewhere around Grand Isle, Louisiana. In this general area is where we believe that landfall would be. Of course, there's a lot of marshland out there, so we know what the storm surge means in this area. It's not a good thing. So there you go. That's the latest radar. That's what it looks like. Let me go back up to, let me take the internet computer again. Well, there's your satellite shot at this hour as well, showing some of those cold top thunderstorms down there across Florida and southern Alabama. But I want to go back to the Hurricane Center, and there's a couple of things I want to show you. This is off Mike's weather page. This guy does a fantastic job with tropical storms and hurricanes. Very good weather source for you at spaghettimodels.com. And he's got everything right here at your fingertip as far as tropical weather is concerned. I want you to look at what's going on out there, folks. This is as of 7:19 p.m. Eastern on September 13th. This is Sunday evening. I want you to look at all of this mess out there in the Atlantic. We have a disturbance over here around the western edge of the Gulf of Mexico. That only has about a 10% chance of forming into anything in the next 48 hours. Then, of course, we have Sally. Sally currently, as of 7 o'clock, is packing sustained winds of 60 miles per hour, minimal central pressure at 996 millibars. And if you're tracking it, 27.9 north or 86.2 west. Movement is off to the west-northwest at around 8 knots or 9 miles per hour. We will get another advisory coming up here in about an hour or so. Then we have Paulette. Paulette is out in the eastern Atlantic and has winds sustained of 85 miles per hour. The central pressure is 974 millibars, located at 30.9 north or 63.6 west. Movement is to the northwest at around 12 knots or 14 miles per hour. So Paulette is kind of moving in the general direction of the New England states of the United States, but is expected to kind of curve back off to the north and northeast over the next couple of days. So may throw some rough surf up here along the northeastern area of the United States, but shouldn't give it any hurricane effects. Then we have Renee right behind Paulette. Renee is a tropical depression and is sustaining winds of 30 miles per hour. Located at 27.3 north, 47.6 west. Movement is to the north-northwest at 5 knots or 6 miles per hour. Should pretty much follow Paulette. I think Paulette's going to kind of control where Renee goes, kind of in Paulette's wake, and we'll also turn back off to the north. But we got to watch Renee, because if Paulette gets too far away from Renee, then if we get a block up here, once Sally gets in, then we don't know exactly what Renee's going to do. But, I mean, looking at the long-range models, they're all saying that Renee's going to turn off to the northeast as well. And then look down here in the extreme, way out here. We're talking just off the African coast. We have Tropical Depression number 20, 35 mile per hour sustained winds. We have disturbance number 2, which has a 70% chance of formation in the next 48 hours or so. And then we have disturbance number 3, which is just now coming off the African coast. Right now, it doesn't have much of a chance in formation, but that could change. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 active systems that are being monitored out there in the Atlantic, the Caribbean, and the Gulf of Mexico. That is just insane. But what we're concerned about right now is Sally. So let me show you a couple of products with Sally. First thing I want to show you is where we think Sally's going to go, because where Sally is ultimately going to go, I think, will be more an effect on East Alabama than where Sally's at right now. Or it'll be more of an effect on East Alabama than where Sally's going to make landfall. Sally will make landfall down here somewhere, maybe around Grand Isle, or maybe a little bit to the east. Some of the models are kind of pushing the storm a little further back to the east. And so it'll be interesting to see what the Hurricane Center does at the 11 o'clock Eastern update, 10 o'clock Central, if they nudge the storm a little bit further to the right, which is not good for Mobile. It's not good for Mississippi. And ultimately, it's probably not good for East Alabama either, because if we get landfall anywhere along Mississippi coast or the Alabama Gulf Coast or the western northwest Florida Panhandle coast, then that's going to put less terrain between the landfall point and East Alabama. I think we're almost certain that we're going to see that north-northeast turn once we get landfall. So the further west we can push the storm, the more land mass will be between that initial landfall and the time that it comes back across East Alabama. The further to the right or to the east that we have landfall, the less amount of land mass between initial landfall and when it tracks over East Alabama and North Georgia. So it'll be interesting to see if they come in here at 11 o'clock and give us a Biloxi landfall or even a Mobile Bay landfall, then concern across East Alabama and West Georgia will probably need to go up a notch or two, though you still won't see hurricane conditions up here in East Alabama or West Georgia. So what we want to see is a shift to the west. And I got to be honest with you, what I'm looking at right here, that's probably not going to happen. If we get any change at all at 11 p.m. Eastern, it's going to be a little bit of a shift back over to the right. But you see that we come on up across central Alabama. We go right across East Alabama, maybe just a shade bit north of our core counties in East Alabama, maybe right along I-20. And then right along the I-20 corridor across North Georgia into South Carolina. But again, don't pay attention to the exact track of any of these long-range models. We know we're going to have a landfalling hurricane in the southeast. We know it's going to turn back off to the northeast. Now, we have a good idea that we're going to have a tropical storm or a depression when it comes back across East Alabama, so we know we're going to have weather. The question right now is, how significant is that weather going to be? And unfortunately, we can't tell you for sure. Based on the information we have right this moment, 2 to 4 inches of rainfall and some breezy conditions across East Alabama is our best bet right now. That could change one way or another as we go throughout the next couple of days. Now, I'm looking at some stuff here for the first time, so we're looking at it together. This is information coming from Tropical Tidbits. This is another very good tropical website that has a lot of good information. Some of these models are experimental and they're not official, and you should not base decisions off of this stuff, but it's fun to look at. This particular model here shows landfall maybe a little bit east of Grand Isle now, and then coming right up across central Mississippi, and then maybe a little bit further north across North Alabama, and then right across North Georgia, and then doing a loop-de-loop right across Lake Lanier and looping back to the left and then going up into Tennessee. Now, that's odd, and that's what we call an outlier, and that would be extremely unusual to see a system do that. So we're not going to take that part of it anyway, into account right now. But you see everybody else is kind of fanning it off to the right, and then the tracks get a little further spread out as you get over into Georgia. So we could see a track anywhere up into Tennessee or even down into central Georgia if this particular model were to verify. So again, just looking at some stuff here together in real time. This is the latest satellite shot coming out of the Gulf of Mexico. It'll take a second for this thing to loop up. And certainly Sally is getting a little more organized and beginning to look a little bit better. We do have some dry air up here in the northwestern quadrant of the storm. Big thunderstorms down here to the southeast of what's probably going to be the eye of the hurricane. And then some big thunderstorms being pushed back into Florida down here south of Tampa. But not a bad looking system as it stands right now. So let's go back. Here's one thing I wanted to look at. This is the watch warning map. And you can see the hurricane warnings are up now. You can see the areas that have hurricane warnings and tropical storm warnings. So we have tropical storm warnings basically from the Big Bend area of Florida over to around, it looks like around Mobile. Let me see if I can get the resolution a little better on this one. Or maybe Pensacola. Let's see what Pensacola's got here. All right, so we have tropical storm warnings there. Okay, so the hurricane, it looks like the hurricane warnings don't start until the Alabama-Mississippi state line. We do have tropical storm warnings for Mobile, for Pensacola, all the way over to Seagrove, and then back in the direction of Panama City. Looks like the hurricane warnings start right there at the Alabama-Mississippi state line. Now, for you folks that are in the Mobile area, understand that at 11 o'clock when we get our next update, if the track shifts any at all to the right, then they're going to replace these tropical storm warnings with hurricane warnings. So that's very important to you folks down there that live in the Mobile Bay area, out there on Dauphin Island, Fort Morgan, Orange Beach. If you get upgraded to a hurricane warning, it's going to be time to start thinking about evacuating. Of course, follow your local emergency management agency's directions on whether you should evacuate or not. But you folks who live down there know this. You know the drill. You know how to deal with all of this. So pay very close attention to the information coming from your local emergency management agency and the Mobile National Weather Service Center and the Hurricane Center. Let's look at the intensity chart right quick while we're here. We've got one model taking up to Category 2. Most other models are grouped in pretty good there at a medium Category 1. You know, and that's, you want to pay attention to all of these. I mean, if you get a tropical storm, you want to pay attention to it. But when you start getting up into medium range Category 1, that's time to start thinking about having somewhere to evacuate to, especially if you're in a flood-prone area, or if you're right out there on the water. You don't want to ride it. Even at a Category 1, you just don't want to do it. That's not the safe thing to do. As I always say, take the course of least regret. Get out of Dodge. So here we go back to the cone that the latest information from the Hurricane Center came out at 7 o'clock Central. We'll get another one at 10 o'clock Central from the National Hurricane Center. It'll be interesting to see if they shift this track at all back to the right. If they do, then the awareness level for those of you in Alabama and Northwest Florida needs to tick up a notch if this track gets shoved back to the right just a little bit. And we'll just kind of watch and see if that happens. Okay, so having said all of that, let me go over here to the chat room and see who all's in the room and see if we have any questions, comments, or concerns. I'll be glad to address them for you right now. Folsom community. I was in Randolph County over the weekend. Just came through parts of Randolph County this afternoon, coming back home. Hello, Michelle Bonner. Ron Abner's in there. Catherine Williams. Let's see. Marlon Stewart. Hello to Teresa Yates. How will it affect Wedowee and Roanoke? Well, right now all we can tell you is be prepared for some rain, anywhere from 2 to 4 inches, maybe a little gusty and a little breezy. And we're talking Thursday. And we're not talking tomorrow. We're not talking Tuesday. We're not talking Wednesday. We're talking Thursday late. The height of it will probably be Thursday night into Friday for East Alabama and West Georgia. Wedowee, Roanoke, Alexander City, Ashland, Lafayette Valley, and then East West Georgia, LaGrange, Franklin, Carrollton. Thursday late into Thursday night and up through Friday morning, the way it looks right now. But again, we're still so far away from that time, things could and probably will change for the good or the bad. But right now, it just looks like 2 to 4 inches of rain and some breezy conditions from time to time. Not really expecting a whole lot as far as severe weather, but it's still early. We'll just have to wait and see when we get a little bit closer. Hello, Prattville, Alabama, my alma mater. There's Timothy Kraft, Sharon Smith. Hello, Sharon. Cindy Lou from Lineville. Kelly Wesson over in Roanoke, Alabama. Danny McGurk, he is in Wedowee. There's Denise Williams. Diane Wade. Emily Hendricks down in Valley. Go Rams! Well, I got a Valley girl downstairs. Molly Potts in Pace, Florida. Nice to have you with us, Molly. Cindy Smith is in Roanoke. Yvonne Crenshaw, Bibbs Ferry, Chambers County. Bria Green's watching us from Roanoke. There's Miss Mary. I was in your neck of the woods over the weekend, Miss Mary. As a matter of fact, are y'all ready for this? Guess where the doctor had supper on Friday night? Abanda, Alabama. The Abanda Cafe. You got to check it out. I know Miss Mary knows where it's at. If you folks hadn't been over, that's some mighty good eating. Had the catfish. I got 2 pieces because it was filet, and I thought 1 piece might not be enough. Yeah, that was a mistake. 1 piece would have been fine. Had that old coleslaw and french fries, big old slice of onion, hush puppy, sweet tea with some lemon in it. Good gracious alive, that was some good eating. Abanda Cafe, y'all check it out. Good eating on Highway 77. They didn't pay me a dime to say that. It's good. Let's see here. Loretta from Roanoke. There's Portia. Hello to Adam. Adam, if the track we have right this minute verifies, yeah, it's going to get stormy in Orange Beach, but this weekend should be okay. Now, if we track that thing any further to the right, the chances of having some beach erosion will be the issue there in Orange Beach, Fort Morgan, Dauphin Island, Gulf Shores. But if we keep the track right where it's at or push it further to the west, no problems down there this coming weekend. Storm will be long gone by then. Regardless of where it makes landfall, it'll be long gone by the weekend. But if it were to make landfall closer to Orange Beach, there could be some problems down there that might take a minute to fix, which would affect this upcoming weekend. So we're going to kind of have to wait and see how that's going to play out. That was turned off. Well, I don't know how that happened. Are you back? Okay. So that's, yeah. I don't know what it did, Deborah. I hit something. I'm back now, though. I think most of you got the gist of what I was saying. We will be back, and we will bring you more updates as we get them from the Hurricane Center, probably at the 10 o'clock Central, 11 o'clock Eastern update. If there are any drastic changes, I will be back, and we'll update you on that when we get it from the National Hurricane Center. So y'all enjoy the rest of your Sunday evening. No weather worries until at least Thursday, as things look right now. And there's your latest from Dr. Don's weather page.